Hello everyone. Today's topic of discussion is, did Mughals make India a rich country? Whenever India's GDP growth rate numbers are released, some habitual Twitter handles don't forget to mention that India's GDP under Mughals was 25% without understanding how is that even related to GDP growth rate. It's like saying I scored 85% in chemistry, so my marks in chemistry are more than there is water on Earth's surface, which is 71%. It doesn't have any correlation. But seldom does it occur to people comparing percentages of any two random variables. Let's understand this narrative that India had a GDP share of 25% under Mughal rule. Is it true? Yes, indeed. It is also no way related to GDP growth rate, but the overall size of Indian economy compared to rest of the world. These numbers are based on the works of British economist, Angus Maddison. Let us see what he has to say about the size of Indian economy throughout history. Now, if we were to look at these numbers at face value, we would conclude that India had a greater share in world economy in 1 AD and 1000 AD. Its share subsequently declined during the Mughal period and then was dusted to ground during the British rule. It continued to decline even for few decades after independence and reversed that trend only in 1991 when India opened up its economy from socialist model to market one. But let's dig one more layer to this data. We can say, GDP equals per capita income into population. It is to be noted that in pre-industrial society, per capita productivity and as a result, per capita income didn't have much variance from one country to another. So, what really determined the size of the economy? It was population. Now let's look at India's GDP share along with India's population share of the world. Few points to note here. First, India has always had a greater share of world population through its history owing to its fertile land. This contributed to India having higher GDP historically. India's GDP share is directly proportional to the population share until 1700s. Second, in industrial world, when Western Europe and USA increased their per capita productivity, India's GDP share starts to fall drastically. Per capita income as percentage of world average continues to fall right from 1500s onwards until 1973, which means an average Indian continued to become poorer when compared to average citizen of rest of the world. This was primarily due to the surge in economic activities of Western Europe, first through colonization and international trade and then industrialization. To measure the effect of Mughals on Indian economy, let's compare numbers between year 1500 and year 1700. Between this period, Indian GDP share continued to remain around 24%, but India's population share had increased from 25% to 27%. It meant an average Indian was becoming poorer compared to its contemporaries in other parts of the world, with its per capita income falling from 97% to 89% of world average. Let's have a look at data for four major regions, namely India, China, Western Europe, and USA. In pre-industrial world, size of the economy was directly proportional to the size of the population, which was directly proportional to the cultivated lands in those countries. India and China throughout history have had 50 to 60% of world population and hence had the greater economic clout, irrespective of the rulers. This correlation between population and overall GDP size started to become irrelevant in industrial society of last 2.5 centuries. This is the data of per capita income as percentage of world average. At 1000 AD, India and China are at par with the world. Then India starts to recede during Mughal reign and by the time British left, an average Indian was 5 times poorer than an average world citizen. Differences in per capita income in agricultural societies were marginal. Industrialization increased human productivity, and as a result per capita income. In last 2 centuries, Western Europe and then USA started topping the GDP share without topping the population chart. Notice the drastic fall in per capita income of India and China when compared with rest of the world. So coming back to our original discussion point, we can safely say, Mughals didn't make India a rich country. In fact, an average Indian became poorer during their reign, even though only marginally. But it was the advent of colonialism and then Industrial Revolution which had major impact on India's fortune and turned India into a poor country. Mughals, or for that matter Qing dynasty in China, continued to live through medieval economic system, whereas Western Europeans simply changed the rules of the game. Let us know what you think. Follow us for more data-based analysis of historical narratives. Have a good day.